Hey everyone, Oz here with Oz WoW Guides, and today we're going to talk about character creation. When you first boot up World of Warcraft, you will be greeted with the realm selection screen. If this is your first time making a character and you have no clue what you're doing at this point and what these different server types are, a quick rundown is normal means that there is PvE and PvP content, meaning that players are able to attack one another. RP is for role-playing realms. These usually require additional add-ons that have to be installed, and then you create character backstories and you role-play as a character. They're pretty cool. I've never really dabbled into it, but I know some of my friends have, and they can get pretty intense with some of the role-playing aspects of it. I highly recommend starting off on a normal server. There are also different populations on each of these servers, and even if it says full, I would recommend looking at doing a Google search and seeing which realms are in your time zone. This will help get you acquainted with other players that are in similar time zones as you. It'll make it easier for grouping up. I'm on a West Coast server, even though I live on the East Coast, and one of the troubles that we have is that our raid time for my guild starts at 9 p.m. my time, but it would be 6 p.m. for most of the players in our guild. So it can be kind of difficult for getting everyone to have a synchronous schedule. So finding a good server that also allows you to play with players that are in similar time zones is extremely helpful. I would recommend either going for a high pop or a full pop server for your first character. The reason being is you you can make a lot of gold on some of the other servers, and that may be something that you want to dabble in later on. But for your first character, you don't want to jump into the World of Warcraft and feel like there's not much of a world there, when all you're seeing is NPCs and four people standing around your capital city. If you want to have that bustling, full experience where it's just characters running around everywhere and you see hundreds of people and your guild is always online and you have friends to play with, then you're going to want to aim for these full or high pop servers that are on the list here. So as you see on my screen, it tells you kind of how many characters you already have, so you can kind of track who's on what realm. Like I said, I've tried to do a RP realm before. I couldn't get the add-ons to function properly and just basically gave up on it. So I mostly focus on playing on Tichondrius. At the time when I'd started playing, this was actually the largest realm. It had the most players. It's changed a little bit since I'd started playing. The Horde versus Alliance balance is heavily favored towards Horde now. When I had first started, it was much closer to a 50-50 split. And I can show you some websites and another video that is great for finding out different servers in the Horde and Alliance split on each of those servers. And having a healthy split is great if you're wanting to do player open world player versus player combat, because nothing is worse than trying to do PvP combat and having a 10-on-1 fight. It just isn't fair, and it can be very demoralizing to play. So after you select your server, you will be greeted. Here's some of my characters on the right here. This is the character select screen. At this point, these are the characters I've already created. You would create a new character, and this has been completely revamped for Shadowlands with all these great new animations that you're seeing on my screen now. And the first thing that you're going to need to decide is Horde versus Alliance in this game. The game is divided in two separate factions, the Horde and the Alliance, where once you pick a faction, you are basically picking a side in the game for everything. So player versus player combat, there are some ways to get around it, but for the most part, you're going to only be playing, if you select a Horde character, you're only going to be playing with Horde characters. It also affects the people that you can group with. So if you have friends that are already playing this game, first thing you're going to want to do is find out what server they're on, and then find out if they're playing Horde or if they're playing Alliance. So after you decide which faction you're going to play, you're going to want to select your character gender. up here at the top. And then you're going to want to select your class. There's 12 different classes in World of Warcraft, and they all have different strengths and weaknesses, and they have different roles that they can play. There's 3 main roles in the game. We're going to cover some more of this in our next video where we cover classes, but there's tanks, healers, and damage dealers, or DPS heroes as you'll hear them called. Now, the second big decision you're going to have is going to be your race. Different races have different special abilities that they get, and you can see them here. Like orcs, they get enraged to increase their damage, they're resistant to some stun effects, and they have increased damage done by their pets. So what you're going to want to do is first select your class and then select your race, because races don't really, or classes don't really complement races. Races complement classes. So a strong race for mages would be trolls. They can increase, they have an ability called berserking, which allows them to increase their attack and casting speed, and they can also regenerate as well. So this makes them one of the strongest picks for mages. So after you select your race, your faction, and your class, you're going to want to customize your character. Now this has been completely revamped. This is actually the first time I've seen this. I have not created a character since the new pre-patch event has went live. Heading into Shadowlands, there was only a couple of options for each of these. You had basically 2 or 3 options for a face, 2 or 3 options for your hair, and that was maybe a couple other things. Now they have implemented all kinds of new features here. They have different skin colors, which they've had before, but they have more options on the faces that you can select, more options on the hairstyles, different hair colors, different tusks for the different basic features. This is really great. It allows for much more customization when it comes to the basic look of your character, which allows you to complement it even more in-game with the different armor sets that you're going to acquire throughout your journey. Now after you do that, you're going to go through all of these customization screens here on these 3 circles. You're going to want to select a name. Up here you can use the dice to select a random name, and it'll just give you one just out of the blue that's available. I recommend trying to spend some time here. Think of something funny, clever. I try to tie in different things with different characters that just kind of help with the role-playing element of the game that it has itself. Also, always be careful with different names and the implicit sort of nicknames that may come with it if they shorten them. I will share with you some funny stories where I have had characters before where I thought, wow, what a great name, and then once people shortened it during raid time, because you may need to have a quick call out, and then they start calling you by a shorter name, and you're like, wow, that was not what I had in mind, and completely off the cuff and not what I was expecting to be called for the rest of the my time in game. So it's always fun, but always be aware that your name is very important and can lead to some very unexpected surprises in the game. So I hope this explains the character creation side of the game, as well as understanding sort of where to, or how to select a server. And we're going to cover some more in-depth details about the classes in our next video. And also I got some great websites that I can show you that'll also help you select races, that'll help you optimize the best, or selecting the best race for your class. Alright, well, that'll do it for this video. I hope you liked everything that you saw, and if you did, please consider leaving a like on this and subscribing to my channel, as I am working hard to bring you more content in the near future.